Hey guys, today I'm going to be going over the Retro Royale, the new challenge that just came out. I'm going to be going over 3 decks. The first one that you'll be watching is over Hog Freeze. I like this deck a lot, and it was kind of unique. And back in Retro, a long time in Royale, this was a long time ago in Royale, this was a pretty good deck. So I suggest you could use it. The second deck is probably the best. This one is pretty decent though. So in order to use the freeze, the opponent needs to have about 4 elixir or more defending your hog rider to freeze. If it's something like skeleton army, usually you should not freeze it. Or if it's like goblins, because those are less than 4 elixir, so don't freeze those. Also, when you freeze, you're gonna have to have those splash damage troops because the counter push is gonna be bigger. So that's why I have about 4, I think 4 splash push or splash troops in this deck just to take care of the big counter pushes coming at you. Another good thing to keep in mind with this deck is when you play your Hog Rider and are getting ready to freeze, it's good to have something like a Valkyrie or Goblins or even the Witch, because it will whittle down some of the, if you like freeze barbarians, it'll whittle down some of the barbarians' health. So having a little troop behind whenever the hog's attacking the tower, and like maybe the whatever troop is frozen, those extra troops will just do extra damage to those defensive troops, which is really helpful. The free spell is also really good because it surprises your opponents. Whenever I see it, I usually am not expecting it and make some bad plays because of it. I also put the bomb tower in this deck, obviously, because it's splash and it'll help deal with big counter pushes. And it's also a pretty underrated card. It has a lot more life than most other buildings, and it's just a very good tower. It stays alive a lot longer than the other towers, so it's a really good option in this deck. So right there, you just saw me. I shot prediction arrows and hit the goblins after I had frozen. And I had the witch and the goblins going down so they could take out the mini P.E.K.K.A, which was frozen, which is kind of what I'm talking about. Once they're frozen, you have something coming behind, which will take out their defensive troops. And you can see I've had on the right tower 60 damage on it for a while now in this battle, and I was trying to get to that tower and get it down because I had to do my crown chest, but sadly I couldn't get it down. So this next deck coming up is a Zap Bait, and since there is no log in this challenge, I thought that Goblins and Goblin Barrel would be a very good option. This is definitely my favorite deck, and it's the deck I went 6-0 with. I went 6-2 with the other ones, and this deck is definitely the most aggressive out of all of them, and you're usually going to go the opposite side as your opponent because you want to pressure them. Something you got to be wary of is if your opponent has a lot of splash, like a Valkyrie or Wizard, because there aren't a lot of high HP units, so you've got to use your Knight to kind of soak up that damage. Inferno Tower is obviously used to take out the big tanks like the Giant or the P.E.K.K.A. And then the Zap you can use on the Goblin Barrel if you have to. Another good option would be Archers or Goblins. Yeah, the Goblin Barrel, I also put Mirror in this deck because when you mirror the Goblin Barrel, that's very good in even regular tourneys. But even more so here because the absence of log and of good Goblin Barrel counters. So in this deck, obviously, you've got to remember to play good defense, and you've got a lot of good defensive cards. So it shouldn't be too hard to play defense with this. And then your damage isn't going to come in huge chunks because it's just a Knight and Goblin Barrel. So you've got to do multiple good pushes. So just focus on that, and always have your zap and fireball ready when doing a push in case they have a skeleton army or a minion horde. You can fireball or zap one of those. But yeah, this is probably one of the best decks that you could possibly choose in the whole Retro Royale because of the zap bait. They have to choose what they want to zap, and the goblins and goblin barrel can't be zapped and killed, but they're still zappable, and a lot of people will zap those. So you saw right there, the wizard is a splash unit and might have taken out those goblins, so I used the knight to soak up that damage so the goblins could take out the wizard and the mini P.E.K.K.A. So yeah, this was a pretty solid win, barely even touched my towers. And the Inferno Tower, of course I put the knight in the back so that the wizard can't hit the Inferno Tower. And right at the end I have about 7 goblins on the tower. Yeah, 7 goblins, and once again I was still going for crown chests and failed to get that last tower, so it's kind of a disappointment there. Okay, this last deck is a giant skeleton balloon deck. This one I was kind of more trolling. I just wanted to have some fun. I started out with Expo and got 2 losses right off the bat because I wanted, like I said, I wanted to kind of mess around, and so I tried an Expo deck, and it just was not good at all. So a really good push is to play your giant skeleton in front of the balloon, and then you need zap or fireball ready depending on what your opponent puts down. And because of the bomb of the giant skeleton, it can kill the defenses your opponent sets down for the balloon, so it leaves the balloon to be able to do like a ton of damage on the tower. And we all know that the balloon does more damage than just about any troop in the game on a tower, so that's very important. And right here I do a little mini push. Don't be afraid to put your balloon with a witch or minions or a knight. Of course, it's better to get it behind the giant skeleton because it's a big tank, but sometimes you gotta kind of try to push it in there and surprise your opponent. The defense in this deck is splash can kind of hurt it sometimes. You've got the knight and the giant skeleton, so you're not in that much trouble because you've got both of those that are high HP and they won't get splashed out very easily, so you don't have a whole lot to worry about. Make sure to once again keep your knight or giant skeleton, keep these splash damaged troops focused on those two while your smaller troops are attacking the opponent's offense. So for example, if your opponent has a giant and a wizard coming down the lane, put a knight to take out the wizard and to distract it while maybe your minions are taking out the giant. This deck, I don't know if I suggest that people use it because it's kind of a harder deck to use. I'm still not that great with Balloon. But if you're just trying to have some fun, this is a good deck to use because it's definitely a lot of fun seeing all those bombs going off with the giant skeleton and the balloon death damage and kind of the fireball, I guess. And then there's 3 of the skeleton. No, I think there's, yeah, 3 of the skeleton family in this deck, the tombstone, the balloon, and the witch. So I mean, it's a decent deck overall, but it's going to be kind of difficult to pick up at the start, so I don't know if I suggest that people really use this one. The second one is going to be your best bet, unless it's not your playing style. Just kind of choose whatever your playing style is, and that should work plenty well. In my opinion, this Retro Royale is definitely the easiest challenge. Thanks for watching the video, and I'll see you later.